Hey guys, welcome back to another great game of CEDH. I want to thank everyone new to the channel as we just hit 1,500 subscribers. Man, every day I just can't believe how fortunate the channel is to be viewed by so many people. So once again, thank you to all my new subscribers. Also, if you're interested in playing with us, hop on our Discord. We have an ever-growing community and we'll love to talk MTG or whatever strikes our fantasy. And another benefit is we often let people know when we play and would love to meet some new people. Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. First up, we have Jimmy piloting Cedh. This version is Reanimator Cedh and aims to utilize Cedh's powerful attack trigger to search out key enchantments and outvalue his opponents. This version does forgo necropotence, and while personally I think it should be in the list, this version can definitely surprise combo unsuspecting opponents. Next up is Cedh, who has brought Ikra Tymna, otherwise known as Bad Farm. This is another ad nos list that utilizes Ikra's ability to gain lots of life and really dig deep, as well as using Tymna and a suite of creature-based stax pieces to create an impressive value engine of its own. In the third spot, we have Fernando piloting Najeela. This is a 5-color thrasios consultation list that backdoors into an infinite creatures and combats combo with Najeela, who, even if just left alone, can amass a horde of warriors to take their opponents out. And bringing up the rear is Hidden and a new commander to the channel, Magda and her mighty Morphin Dwarf Rangers. This is a mono-red combo list that uses Magda's insane ability to generate lots of treasures to not only ramp, but search out key artifacts, and oh boy, can this win quickly. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. Jimmy starts off the game with a Chrome Mox and imprints a Dispel. He then follows it up with a Command Tower. Cedh has an Ancient Tomb and takes 2 to cast a Fellwar Stone, and uses the Rock to cast a Blood Pet. Fernando cracks a Scalding Tarn to grab a Tropical Island, but shortcuts and casts a Wild Growth on the land before searching it out. Hidden also cracks a Scalding Tarn, but he grabs a Snow-Covered Mountain and uses it to cast a Dwarven Armorer. He also casts an inactive Mox Opal just in case a pesky fish shows up later. Jimmy has a Plains and taps out for a Rhystic Study, with Hidden being really happy he played the Opal. Cedh luckily finds a Flooded Strand off the top and cracks the fetch for a Savannah. He uses his Fellwar Stone to cast an Esper Sentinel and lets Jimmy draw off the Rhystic. He then enchants the Savannah with the Wild Growth.
Trigger?
No, I messed up. I could have paid for both. Yeah, you're right. I'll take 2 and ouch and realize my mistakes. And yeah, I'll pay 2.
Fernando cracks another fetch, this one being a Marsh Flats, and goes and gets a Badlands, which he uses to cast a Mindblade Renderer, using the floating green to pay for Rhystic. Hidden has a Survivor's Encampment as land and casts his commander Magda. He unfortunately cannot pay for the Rhystic and then heads to combat. He sends his Armorer at Jimmy and creates a treasure token for Magda. The treasure doesn't stay for long though, as on his second main he cracks it for a Liberated Dwarf, letting Jimmy draw again. Jimmy has a Jeweled Lotus.
Pay for Esper Sentinel? Okay, Rhystic Study be like really bad.
He doesn't pay the tax and then casts an Imperial Seal. He finds a card to hand and then ends his turn cracking his Lotus to cast Cedh. Cedh, wanting more cards, casts Tymna.
Gosh, I hate Rhystic Study.
I say that Esper Sentinel hasn't treated you nearly as nicely.
I know. I mean, I drew 1 card, not bad.
He does end up paying the 1 with his floating colors and then heads to combat, only to realize he doesn't have any good attacks, and passes after that. Fernando has a Scrubland and then casts a Snap to bounce the Cedh back to hand. He does pay for the Rhystic, but not for the Sentinel. He then untaps 2 lands and casts his commander Najeela. He doesn't pay for the Rhystic and then moves to combat. The Mindblade heads at Hidden and the newly created warrior go at Jimmy. Both players take the hit, with Fernando losing 1 to draw an extra card before passing. Hidden plays a Snow-Covered Mountain and then casts an Adaptive Automaton. Jimmy gets another card off the Rhystic and it resolves with Hidden naming Dwarfs before heading to combat. He swings his board out at Jimmy and creates 3 treasures.
That's a lot of treasures. I don't like that.
Well, they're not going to stay around for very long.
I like that list.
On his second main, he taps his now active Opal and uses it and 2 of his treasure to cast a Wheel of Fortune. He uses the last of his treasure to pay for the Rhystic, but not for the Sentinel. With the wheel still on the stack, Fernando responds with a Noxious Revival, letting both Jimmy and Cedh draw, with Fernando putting a snap back on top of his library. The wheel then resolves, and everyone pitches their hands and draws 7, with Hidden drawing a very spicy 7. He plays out a Mox Amber and a Chrome Mox, imprinting an Enslaved Dwarf. He uses the rocks to cast a Dockside, gaining 6 treasures. He then sacrifices 5 of them to Magda and finds a Clock of Omens. Excited to have assembled the combo, Hidden taps his automaton and the remaining treasure to the clock to untap his automaton, and trigger Magda to gain another treasure. Unfortunately for him, Cedh does have a response as he swords Magda. Hidden gains some life and then taps the new treasure and the clock itself to untap his Chrome Mox, and uses that to cast the Prophetic Ravings on his automaton, letting Jimmy draw. He then taps the newly enchanted automaton to rummage, but is done after that. Jimmy plays a Mana Conflux and then casts an Unearth to bring the Hippocamp back, with Cedh drawing off a Sentinel. Even though he did draw a lot of cards off the wrist stick, Jimmy passes, discarding a few lands due to hand size. Cedh plays a Gaia's Cradle and then casts a Deathrite Shaman. Unfortunately, he is running low on black mana as he has to sacrifice his Blood Pet for mana to cast his commander, Ikra Shadiki, paying for the wrist stick. He then heads to combat and sends Tymna at Fernando and gains 4. He then pays 1 on his second main to draw off Tymna. Fernando has an Underground Sea as land and then casts a Snap. He targets the Hippocamp and pays for Jimmy's wrist stick, but lets Cedh draw off his Sentinel. Still with the Snap on the stack, Jimmy responds with a Path to Exile on Hidden's automaton. He lets Cedh draw from the Sentinel while also drawing off his own Hippocamp. The path resolves and Hidden gets a snow-covered mountain, with the Snap resolving after and Fernando untapping 2 lands. Fernando does follow this up with a Nature's Will, letting Jimmy draw off the wrist stick. But unfortunately for Fernando, Jimmy does find a Spell Pierce off the top, and the will is countered. Fernando then heads to combat and swings Najeela at Hidden, and the Mind Blade and Warriors head at Jimmy, along with the 3 newly created Warriors from Najeela. Fernando loses a life when the Warriors connect to draw a card, and he finishes his turn casting a Ragavan. Hidden plays another snow-covered mountain and then a Mana Vault, paying for the wrist stick and the Sentinel. He then uses the Vault to help recast Magda, still paying for the wrist stick, and then taps 3 to play a face-down Morph creature. He does tap Magna to his Survivor's Encampment to gain an additional treasure, and uses the treasure to pay for the wrist stick. The Morph resolves, and it is then on Morph to reveal a Proteus machine, which when turned face up becomes a Dwarf. This now lets him tap the machine and the Clock of Omens to untap his Proteus machine, gaining another treasure off Magda. This lets him produce infinite tap treasures, which lets him sacrifice treasures to Magna to search out a grinding station, to mill his opponents out, and then have them draw with a memory jar. Game review. Well, I think that was a good example of how when you stop one player, the next player generally just wins. Jimmy did make the argument that Fernando should have held onto the Snap for Hidden's turn, but seeing as they didn't know that Hidden was holding the Proteus machine in his hand, they couldn't have known that he would have comboed off when he did. Fernando's use of the Snap was to try and bait out Jimmy's interaction in hopes that he could land the Nature's Will, which would have been the game. I was really impressed by Magda. She was an insane value engine, and even though 95% of the dwarves you play are pretty bad, slap a treasure on them and suddenly they don't look so bad, especially since Hidden nearly won turn 3 off a blind 7 from the Wheel of Fortune. But question for the viewer, what commander has surprised you? I certainly didn't think mono red dwarves would be a CEDH viable strategy, but let me know in the comments down below. Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you know that we have a TCG affiliate link, and if you ever see a card you want to try or are inspired to brew something new, use our link when purchasing and we'll receive a small portion of the sale. This is a great way to support the channel, and if you enjoyed the gameplay, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps us keep making videos. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.